Hey guys, so we're going to start doing the self-defense here. To begin with, we're going to talk about basic wrist grabs. And so I've separated these into a grab of the wrist versus a grab of the gi. And when you talk about grabbing sleeves, you're talking about very different intention. Generally, this is somebody who's doing it with an intention of doing some sort of a takedown or judo and things like that. So to begin with, if he's grabbing just my wrist, this is not something guys generally do to each other. This is more something that you see that a guy will do this to a girl, whether he's trying to pull her, if he thinks he's John Wayne in The Quiet Man, or if he's just trying to pull her for some, malicious intent. This is a thing that honestly is pretty easy to break. And we kind of have to separate these into the level of force that we want to use. Because keep in mind, if this is a real threat, he's pretty tied up here. There's not a lot he can do, and he's already got one of his hands out of the equation, so I can strike and defend that way. However, if I can't break this, there's a lot of stuff in there that I've seen where guys are like, oh, you gotta do this type of stuff or come in here. And what happens is when you get a guy with a really good grip and somebody who, when there's a significant strength difference, that doesn't work most of the time. So what I recommend is this, is I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna point it towards the ground and I'm gonna step. And this works because the weak point in his grip is between his thumb and his finger here. So as he grabs here, I'm gonna step forward and punch down. This is gonna free me up for elbow strikes and things like that. And I've done a lot of pressure testing with my buddy Gail, who's significantly smaller, on guys who are much bigger, to try this out, and she's had a very good response with this. She's found this is much easier to escape. Now, when you talk about grabbing a sleeve, you're talking about somebody who's trying to do some judo in here. He's grabbing my sleeve because he wants to come in here, probably grab something else and do a throw. So we need to learn this type of defense as well for a wrist grab, not just grabbing the physical wrist. So generally what I recommend is here is I'm gonna circle my hand so that my thumb and my finger are on the outside, and I'm gonna punch it across. One more time, he grabs my sleeve, I'm gonna circle, and I'm gonna punch it across here. This is very hard to hold the sleeve. And I'll show it from this side, if he's grabbing here, the other side, other hand. If he's grabbing here, this is very hard for him to hold on to as I come in here and I punch back this way, okay? Now, when you talk about a cross-side grip, this is honestly a little bit easier. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna punch it. If he's grabbing my wrist and you're talking about a self-defense situation, this is good for me because I'm on the back side. I want to be here. Whether I'm doing some sort of like an EKO or something like that, or I'm coming through here and striking, either way, as I'm coming to the back side, I can come to Russian ties and all sorts of stuff, but I'm in a much safer spot. So this is actually a pretty good area for me. So this is not a huge threat. Obviously, if I'm concerned about a punch, I always want to be aware of that. So if I get behind him, he can't really do a lot to punch me. If he's got two sleeve grips, this is essentially the same. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a sleeve and I'm gonna punch it across. If he manages to hold on to this, let's say he's got a real good grip, I can punch it here and punch down at this hand to remove that as well. Or usually what I'll do is once I punch across, I can come through and I can do some sort of a throw from here. So those are gonna deal with our basic wrist grabs. It's pretty simple from there. So now that's part one, okay. All right, so the next one we're gonna talk about collar grabs. Collar grabs and chokes are very similar in the way we deal with them, but I'm gonna break them down into sport versus self-defense. If he's grabbing my lapel here, my early recognition, my thumb is gonna come on the inside, my fingers are gonna come on the outside, and I'm gonna rotate it off. That's my early recognition. So do the other side here so it's easier for them to see. As he comes in, my thumb comes underneath, my fingers come on top, and I'm gonna rotate it off. I wanna be guarding and not let him get the grip initially. So as he tries to come in here, go ahead. I wanna try to be on top so that it makes it hard for him to grab. But if he does grab, and maybe I'm fumbling with something else, and I get my late recognition, now this is a different situation. Now if he has a gi, I'm gonna pistol grip the top, I'm gonna grab underneath, and I'm gonna do my break. But if not, I'm just gonna go 2-on-1, and I'm gonna go 75% to 100%. My first one, back step, go ahead and hold on. I back step, and then I break. Once I'm here, I'm gonna step to the outside. And usually if I have a sleeve, I'm gonna pull that with it. So one more time, late recognition. Generally I'll grab a sleeve and I'll pistol grip and I'll come underneath and I'll push back and I'll break. If he doesn't have it, same thing applies, really hold on to this. I go 2-on-1, 75%, 100%. Pull him across, okay? That will do it for the lapel grabs. Now for chokes, generally speaking, if somebody does a front choke here, go ahead. We'll do one-handed first. If I'm getting a one-handed choke, guys will do this because that punch is coming. So my first threat is not this. He's not doing a lot of damage unless he puts me up against something. And if he does, that's not even that bad anyway, because I can always strike to this side. My concern is this far side that what's he gonna do? He's gonna come in, I anticipate a punch. So as he's here, I'm immediately covering up, okay? Now generally, I wanna close off the space on this as well. So go ahead again, he goes to punch, here. I come in for my elbow, I close the space, and then I can break this off as I like. This is not terribly hard because go ahead and really get a grip here. From right here, get a grip. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, really hold on. He can't do much. He has to put me up against something. And if that's the case, if he's got me up against a wall, this is where you run into more a threat, where I want to come in here, covering up, making sure I'm not getting hit with this punch, stepping through here. All this stuff is pretty easy to defend. Another technique I like to do, if I don't feel like this guy's really that much of a threat, let's say he gets a two-handed grip on me. A lot of guys really, go ahead and get a grip. You got it, you got it, you got it. Man, pushing down on this V is a very simple, non-threatening. We don't always want to escalate to this deadly force. For example, the wrist grabs you were just talking about. If he wrist grabs me here, do I want to strike him in the throat just because he grabbed my wrist in a way? No, probably not. I don't go to lethal force off of that. Especially because most of the time I can break this easily. Same thing from here. I may not want to go lethal with this, so if he grabs my throat with two hands, go ahead. I can just push off. But most of the time, if he is grabbing my throat, we can assume his intent is not good. So if you think about this, all of this is open. I've got this, eye gouges, all this stuff. This is pretty easy. I can push up here to the elbows. I'm gonna be honest, if you are a legitimate martial artist and you can't figure out how to get out of a two-handed choke, there's some serious issues. Because from right here, I have all the striking in the world. Now, if he does put me up against a wall or something like that, and none of this stuff I feel like is working, and I can't eye gouge, I can't ear smack, I can't throat strike, and I can't strike to the body, I can't kick to the groin, in that highly unlikely situation, I take my fingertips, I put it into the V in the center of his throat, and I just remove him. I promise you guys, try this out. Like, my students are always surprised by how effective this is, because this move sucks, driving that down. It's just very uncomfortable. But like I said, if this is a life-threatening situation, it's pretty easy to just finish him off from there. So that's going to deal with lapel grabs and for chokes. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to talk about our 3 basic choke defenses from behind. This is something I commonly see taught incorrectly, and what I see happens a lot is somebody comes up behind and this guy says, oh, you're going to elbow here, or I'm going to come and elbow here, and I'm going to grab the clusters. Well, the problem with that is that if he's behind me, I'm not doing any real force, and I'm not going to really be able to hit him. I'm in real trouble here. And worse is if I try to grab his clusters and just try to squeeze my way out, by the time I do enough damage for him to release, I'm unconscious, because this choke does not take a long time to put somebody under, I promise you. So we're going to talk about a couple of variations on this, because you need to know how to deal with this from early recognition, late recognition to very late recognition, because each is going to have a slightly different response. So the first is early recognition. He gets his hand behind my neck and he's going to grab with his other hand. The first thing I want to do is I got to pull down on this arm to start creating space, but if he's locked in here pretty tight, this can be a challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my hips as I pull down. And you see how this creates my space? If I just try to pull down, I'm not going to get as much. If I try to do this while I'm doing it, I got to do it at the same time and yank down as I drop my hips. This hip drop is also going to set up my technique, which is going to be my throw. And it works well whether the guy's smaller like Greg is or a bigger guy, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my hips back and I'm going to look to my left and put him right in front of me, okay? This is your basic rear choke escape in jiu-jitsu, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of people teach it wrong, and so for the purposes of our program, I want to make sure you guys are doing this right. The second one is going to be my late recognition. He comes behind and he starts pulling my hips back, okay? This is really dangerous for me, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I'm going to start getting my hands involved and pulling this down. From here, I'm going to take a back step, and I'm going to do my asodagari and put him right in front of me. One more time. He comes behind me. I'm getting pulled back. I pull down. I rotate, putting him in this Americana position, and then kick out the foot, put him right in front of me. Finish as you like. The third variation is my very late recognition. Let me move this stick out of here. This is where he gets the other hand behind in the choke, and he starts punching this through, and I'm in real danger here. This is really bad for me. Before I can get this arm removed, I've got to deal with this arm, which is really putting pressure on me. So I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna still keep pulling this down. My left hand is gonna strip this over the top, and now I'm gonna finish like I did before, hips back and rotate. But it's really important, if this hand is in here, I can't just come in here because he's gonna pull me with him. So what I gotta do instead is, as I drop, I gotta start peeling off this hand, and this is gonna be a battle. Like I said, if you start here, you are already in a really bad position, so don't get too excited. Your chance of getting out of this is pretty low already. So I need to strip this off, pop my hips back, and rotate, putting them right back where we were before. Anyway, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please message me and we'll go into details on it. All right, guys, so we're gonna start in our next series here. We're gonna talk about bear hugs and grips and stuff like that. This is another area where I see a lot of really bad information, and I wanna make sure that in the program that we're doing this the right way. First one we're gonna talk about is a chicken wing, a double chicken wing. For those of you who don't know, this is a really common tactic where somebody's gonna get behind, they're getting both of your arms, and you're in a lot of trouble. I've seen all sorts of stuff where people try to come back here and finger peel or kick back. That stuff is not gonna work, and you're gonna be in trouble, especially if this guy decides to put me on the ground. So let's come this way so you can get a better viewpoint on it, squaring off. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoulder to my left. I'm gonna let my left hand go limp, and I'm gonna yank it out. From here, I'll probably just do an arm drag and get behind him. I'll show that again. He's here. I'm gonna go to my left. I let my left arm dangle and I limp arm out. My right hand is gonna cut behind his tricep as I pull him forward and I start getting a back position on him, okay? That's our chicken wing. Next one, I'm gonna come up here for a full Nelson. The best move I've seen on this is one by Dean Lister. If you guys don't know who he is, check it out. He's amazing. And the biggest concern is this, my arms get floated out and my head gets pushed down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my hands together, make a fist in front of my head, and I'm gonna push my head back. And you'll see how this puts pressure on his arms. It's very hard for him to hold on to this. As he comes in here, I'm extended out. I can squeeze my elbows together to get my hands to clasp. I'm gonna put it right in front of my forehead. I'm gonna push my head back, and I'm gonna turn into him. All right, guys, here we go. Take number 3 because I kept hitting the button on my remote. All right, here we go. We're gonna do a quick recovery recap on this. It's gonna be our bear hug sequence. This is something I usually see taught very incorrectly. So let's talk about the 3 most common situations for bear hugs. The first one is the most dangerous. I come in here, throw something, he slips behind me, and now he's got my back, and I'm going for a suplex, and I'm gonna hit my head, and I'm gonna be out. So early recognition. My thumbs come on the inside, I drop my hips come forward, and I straighten my arms. This is actually a pretty easy break. I've done it to guys a lot bigger than me, and once I get to here, I rotate into them to get to this over-under. I'll show it from this side. I come here, I break the grip, I rotate in, and I start working for my under-over position. What I like to do more than that though, is I like to go 2-on-1. I get my thumbs on one side, hips forward like I did before, and now I go to my Kimura, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step around and take this to the far side until I end up in my mount. I'm not gonna follow him because I'm trying to be nice. But generally speaking, you will follow into a mounted Kimura. One more time, I'll show it from a different side. I come here 2-on-1, Sakuraba style, gonna go for that Kimura, step through, and I come here and I finish with my Kimura. Late recognition. This is where I'm in real danger. I'm late to the party on this. He comes behind, I don't have a time to get here. He starts to lift my feet off the ground. That's my trigger. When my feet lift, I abandon and I cover my head. Why? Because Mike's gonna suplex my head in the ground and I'm gonna be out. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here, abandon, and guard up, okay? All right, here we go, guys. Bear hug version number 2. It comes from a front bear hug. What I generally see incorrect on this is guys attacking the face trying to get out. But if you notice here, any decent wrestler is gonna have his head under my chin or he's gonna put it in my solar plexus and he's gonna break my posture. This is what you're expecting out of a front bear hug. So what am I gonna do? As soon as he gets in here, hands on the hips, and I scoot my hips back. If I want to, I can go for my lateral drops and stuff, but focus right now on just the escape. Getting in here, hands on the hips, my hips back, and now I escape, okay? Bear hug number 3, he's gonna come over my arms. What I see commonly done wrong with this is I see guys trying to do stuff in Taekwondo where they do this type of stuff. This is bad because, as you can see, now I'm in a much worse position. Now I'm getting choked. This in itself is not that dangerous if I keep my hips low. It's very hard for him to throw me from here. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna contain his arms, I'm gonna step behind, and I'm just gonna rotate. Very simple. The alternative is, if you like, some guys prefer, once I get here, I contain, I step through, I grab the back of his knees or his pants, and I'm gonna lift his pant legs while I throw him back. That's pretty much it. Anyway, those are the 3 different bear hugs. Stay tuned for the rest. That other one. All right, guys. Now we're gonna do a couple other defenses. We're gonna deal with pushing and headlocks. So the first one, he comes in with a big wide push. When I determine what I'm gonna do with a push, I'm gonna look at his elbows to determine what I have to do. If he's got wide elbows and he's pushing this way, go ahead and give me a good push. Okay? I need to be on inside control. If his elbows are narrow, I need to be on outside control. The danger of pushes is that if something's behind me and I don't know what's going on, I can hit my head, okay? The push in itself is mostly what people use to start a fight, but we wanna be on top and in control in a fight from the start to finish. So it's good that we start here. So what I'm gonna do is wide elbows. Go ahead and give me a good push. Oh, all right, this is bad. So what I'm gonna do is, as he comes in, I'm gonna lean forward a little bit, get my heels off the ground, and I'm gonna be like a football lineman where I'm coming forward a little bit, and my biceps, or my hands are gonna cover his biceps. So I'm just gonna play football lineman on this. I don't wanna take a back step, because if there's something here and I go to back step to catch my weight, that might be what sends me flying. So he's gonna come in here with a big wide push, and I'm gonna come inside. Again. Okay? And I start on inside control now. The alternative is, if I look at his elbows and his elbows stay in, go ahead and give me a push this way. Oh, I can't do this. I try to do this, go ahead. Oh, I can't get inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my basic universal block. You wanna know what the application is? Guess what? Here's an application. What I'm gonna do is, as he comes in a push, I'm gonna sidestep, and my first hand is gonna come underneath here, and then my other hand is gonna push it off. So it's gonna look like this. Go ahead. Again. You'll see how block, redirect, okay? I don't ever have to grab on this, but what I get out of this is that, and stop after the push, after I'm here, look how off balance he is, and look how open he is. That's what I'm looking for. So if I can determine how much I want to escalate this fight, maybe I take a back control, maybe I knock him out, maybe I just keep yanking him forward while he's off balance and he goes flying, okay? So those are our 2 different pushes. Now we're gonna get into headlocks. The front headlock I break down into whether or not they have connection with their hands. If they do not have a connection, I can slip out the back door just like we do from a north-south position, where when he's coming here, I'm gonna sit through. It's gonna be the same thing. As he goes for the front headlock, if this hand is not engaged, I'm gonna turn so you can see it. I wanna block it so that I can't get engaged. I don't want this hand connecting, because now I gotta deal with a guillotine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull down on this hand, tighten my elbow, step through, okay? From right here, it's all academic. It's pretty easy to escape from here and finish this, but the first start of this is the important part. So early recognition, he starts to pull me down. Maybe we're fighting, he pulls my head down. My first job is stopping this hand from connecting. My second job is get this hand, get my weight underneath me, step through, and turn to face him. Just like we do from a north-south position. If his hands are connected, we're gonna switch sides here so you can see it. He goes for a guillotine, much more dangerous. This guy obviously knows a little bit more about what he's doing. Oh, look at, just loosen up so I can talk. My right hand is gonna go over the shoulder, I'm gonna walk around, and I'm gonna bump my hip forward. So it's gonna look like this. I'm trying to be nice because my dad's 73, so I'm not trying to throw him hard. I probably shouldn't throw him at all. I'm not gonna throw him again on this one, but I wanna illustrate it from the other side so you guys can see it from this side. His hands connect, I'm in danger. My left hand pulls this down. My right hand goes over the shoulder. I'm gonna walk my feet around so that I am perpendicular with him. You'll see his feet are facing this way, my feet are this way. What I don't want is for us both to walk around here, okay? If he starts following me, I might have to post on this hip to get here. But it's worth it, because now I'm gonna pop him back, pop my hip forward, and walk him backward. Once he is trying to do a guillotine on the far side of his body, it's very hard to finish from there. He's got to reconnect some sort of a guard, so you're pretty safe from there. So, once again, are the hands clasped or not? Now, rear headlocks. Okay? 2 things are going to happen from here. 1, he's going to try to throw me to the ground and ragdoll me, or 2, he's going to punch me in the face. okay? My number one goal is gonna be to solidify my base and slip my hand on the far side. Now try to punch me in the face, okay? This is a much safer position. Now from here, there's a couple things I can do. I can grab hold of this wrist, posture up, and escape. Or from right here, I can take this hand, swim it through, kick my foot across, and just roll them. I'm not gonna do that because like I said, my dad's 73, he doesn't need that. But the way it's gonna look is, this hand's gonna slide in here, and I'm gonna roll them back. I hope that this helps with a lot of the different self-defense stuff. If you have other stuff you'd like to see, put it in the comments. If you're not sure how this stuff is working, please address it in class, or if you wanna leave a comment if you're not one of my students, feel free to do so. But this is really designed more for my students, so if you guys have questions about this, since this is a resource, please follow up with me in class and we'll talk about it. And if you're having problems with any area, we'll get it straightened out. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this helps your training.